The secret application sauce, or SPA plugins, and the homework assignment. Good art changes lives. This week we talked about artificial intelligence at some depth and how it can create your applications if you start with a requirements document. We have learned that if you give it your idea and ask for a requirements document first, instead of asking for code right away, you can create an intermediate step in which you can double-check and refine key terms, still in plain English. And then you try to generate the application, but with expectations of bugs and missing features that you then have to explain to the AI or put in the requirements document. In your going back and forth, you can hit the reset button without losing too much progress by simply asking the AI to convert your program into a requirements document. You may try asking it to save some of the code that you get working in an appendix so that the next regeneration is more informed. That goes a long way to take care of everything, but there is a rather large problem that you must address early on. Eventually, your code will be too big for a single file or a single application class. And even if you have good AI with large context, you may wish to separate features out anyway, just so that you can make them optional. Let the user enable or disable plugins. Therefore, I asked AI about application plugins today, and with a focus on artificial intelligence friendly code. Here is what it had to say. That is a good question, and one that gets right to the heart of human-AI collaborative coding at scale. You're designing a system not just for users, but for yourself and an LLM working together. That changes everything. The architecture must be not only modular and extensible, but also navigable, explainable, and contextualizable by an LLM with limited memory. Here is what you should focus on. Explicit structure, configuration and metadata over convention. Large language models can't infer large code bases without guidance. Uniform plugin contracts, predictable and uniform plugin structure, makes reasoning and code generation easier. Registry-based discovery lets large language models scan functionality without loading every file. Metadata. File separation. One plugin, one file. Keeps context sizes manageable. If you are still working with a single index.html file, you then make it one plugin, one class. Flat call graph, low in direction. Avoid large language models getting lost in multiple layers of abstraction. Metadata and self-describing plugins makes summarization and documentation easier. This means that every plugin has a name, description, type, and may mention what features it provides. And then, all plugins have a simple init function that will receive the application object itself. Here, it can access the app events, where it can subscribe to and emit events, and Mount UI, where it can append itself to some UI selector or zone in your application UI. AI simply wants simplicity and breadcrumbs. Just give the whole application object to the plugin's init function and make sure that good metadata describing all the plugins and maybe even what they provide exists. The result of this is you having the ability to add and throw away plugins without harming the application. One plugin per file is trouble for sample projects, but it makes sense because when you include all the plugin code, the free AI runs out of context memory. But eventually, even premium AI may have trouble with one large file. When everything is split into plugins, you will not encounter any context size problems. Make plugin architecture part of the requirements document early on, while the application is still small. Let the plugins sit in the index.html as classes. Once things start working for you, pull them out and use an AI that can scan multiple files, that is able to work with file systems. Just to say it again, your plugins need to have an initialize or init function, and the main application or app object will be passed into it as the first and only argument, so that you have access to it. Here, you will hook into the app events, UI, bus, and even helper functions. This is one step out of index.html. You are not adding any other layer than plugin with initialize function. You must protect the AI from confusion. Now let's talk about your homework assignment and graduation. Because the self-educated never get a break, you are receiving homework for this weekend, but you don't have to turn it in, because there are no deadlines in my programming school. But once you understand what this project is about, there is not much you can do to stop yourself from working on it. So I ask you to get plenty of rest. Touch grass often, eat your vegetables, and drink plenty of water. Might want to sit down for this one, because, like I said before, the world has changed. It will take some time to understand it and get used to all the new things. You are to ask artificial intelligence to create a drag and drop visual programming language. You can use the source code I created as a stable seed. But you have to instruct the artificial intelligence to use functional reactive programming operators written in vanilla JS to code your visual programming language. You can ask it to use RxJS or Bacon or Ramda if you wish. And then ask the AI to allow using those functions in the programming language itself. To see what that looks like, you may want to look at Node-RED. You just have a side pane with all kinds of things that you can put on your canvas and connect together in order to form programs. You could also ask AI to pop up a model search box. That means tell the AI to use latest Bootstrap from their CDN. And then, once the user interface works and you can create little reactive or functional programs, instruct the artificial intelligence to replace the code of the visual programming language itself with programs that run on your visual canvas. Continue asking the AI to move everything into the visual programming environment until the entire visual programming language before you is written in itself. Upon completion of this task, which may take anywhere between an hour and 25 years, you may consider yourself a graduate of the CPU and a programmer of the brave new era of artificial intelligence. Please remember what I said about the vegetables.